And with me in the studio to tell us more is Isabel Dziobek, a neuropsychologist from the Free University of Berlin. Now, synchronizing brains, that has to do with being on the same wavelength. Can we also reach that in our talk?
Sure, I think so. We can assume that those kind of synchronization processes happen whenever people adjust their behaviors to others, when they coordinate their behavior, may it be through music or dance or even through a conversation.
And what can make them especially intense?
Certainly if a person is empathic, if a person can feel into another person or appreciate the emotions of another person, then this person will be better able to tune into the other person.
So talking, music, even sports can help us to synchronize the brains. Does science really know what happens in the brain?
Not so much, actually. We are just beginning to, because the technology is just getting there, so to enable us really to look at two people simultaneously while their brains are scanned or while they have an EEG, as you see here. And plus, those kind of methods are very susceptible to movement artifacts. And that's why you can't really scan people while they do sports. Making music is something that's possible, as we just saw.
So what we've seen in the report is more or less a superficial explanation of just measuring the wavelengths, but we don't really know what's lying underneath, right, with the neuronal processes.
I mean, we know, at least as far as the frequencies go, we see that those brains swing in the same frequency, and that's already a beginning, I think. You know, if you're talking about brain areas, then at least those kind of studies have shown that it's central and more frontal, for instance. But you're right that there's much more to discover, that's for sure.
Much more work for you. Now, you actually work with autistic people. What's so special about them?
Autistic people have a core problem in social interaction. They have a deficit in empathizing with others, and they also have problems in imitating and synchronizing to the movements of other people. And we do think that there's a connection between those two areas. And that's why we train people with autism to synchronize with others, to mirror others' movements, to synchronize in circle dances, for instance, because we hope that we can also enhance empathy through that.
Do they actually, by the way, always have these special talents like photographic memory or stuff like that?
No, that's not the case. That's what the media tries to make us believe, but it's rarely like that. It's maybe in 5 to 10% of people with autism like that.
So back to your work with the synchronization. You brought a video. Could you just explain what we see there?
Sure. Okay, so what we see here, this is a test that we have developed to measure spontaneous synchronization. On the right side, you see an autistic adult who was told to do swings the way that he wants to do them. And then a dancer enters the scene and does a pretty standardized program of movements. And what we observe, or what we look at, is if the autistic person synchronizes his or her movements in any way to what the dancer is doing.
In this case, it didn't really work, did it?
No, that's true, exactly. So I picked this as an example because this person has a rather large movement repertoire, as we can see, but he does not synchronize or adapt to any of the movements that the dancer is making.
But overall, would you say your method is actually successful?
We were successful actually in enhancing imitation and in enhancing synchronization. We were not so successful in enhancing empathy, so emotional empathy or the understanding of emotions in others. But that's something that we're still following up on.
Thanks a lot for the talk, Isabel Dziobek.